Welcome to Watch Cozy.
Great to be here.
Today, we're looking at something really fascinating. How to gain respect, maybe a bit more influence in our daily lives.
But without being obvious about it.
Exactly. We're exploring these subtle shifts in behavior, tiny things that can really change how people see you, how they treat you.
Yeah, it's amazing how much that stuff matters.
So our goal today is just to unpack some of these, maybe understand the sort of power dynamics underneath it all.
It's true. I mean, think about it. In work, with family, romance, just hanging out, respect and, your social standing, they're pretty crucial.
They really are. And you definitely see people who just command attention without saying much.
Mm-hmm. That quiet influence.
Yeah. And what's interesting is it doesn't seem to be about looks or, something they were born with.
No, it feels more like a learned skill, something they picked up about managing perceptions.
Okay, so let's dive into one of these ideas then. This concept of intentional pausing or even just silence.
Right. Because how we're seen isn't just what we say.
Mm-hmm.
It's how we say it, how we carry ourselves.
Yeah.
And, rushing your words or feeling like you have to justify everything.
That can come across as less confident.
It can, yeah. Sometimes it projects, maybe not weakness exactly, but perhaps a lack of self-assuredness. It's almost like society reads strength in being measured.
Which leads us to this pausing idea in conversation.
Exactly. People with that kind of influence, they don't seem afraid of a gap in the talk.
They use it.
They use it. Strategically even.
Yeah.
Makes other people wait a beat, maybe listen harder.
There's that famous example, Winston Churchill.
Oh, right. His silences?
Apparently they were legendary. People said they were more intimidating than when he got angry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
He had that quote, something like, "In the game of power, silence is sometimes the loudest cry."
That really makes you think, doesn't it? About holding back.
It does, because we often feel we have to fill that silence.
Yeah.
It feels awkward.
We do. Maybe we're scared of being ignored or something. But actually, that pause, it can create space.
Space for what?
For others to become more receptive, maybe. To really think about what was just said, or even just to feel slightly unsettled.
Okay, so what's going on there psychologically? Why does that silence make the other person uncomfortable?
Well, it's, like you said, it's uncomfortable for many people. It creates a kind of vacuum. And the other person's mind might rush to fill it in.
With their own stuff?
Yeah, possibly their own thoughts, their worries, maybe their insecurities even.
You mentioned Sun Tzu earlier, the military strategist. How does he fit in?
Well, it's interesting. His whole thing was often about winning without direct fighting, using psychology.
Right, like appearing weak when you're strong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Strategic ambiguity. And it seems like this pausing in conversation can do something similar. It creates a little uncertainty for the other person.
Giving you a subtle edge.
Maybe a subtle advantage, yeah.
So the practical application is someone asks you a question.
Instead of jumping right in.
You pause. Let it hang for a second. Maintain eye contact.
Mm-hmm. And then answer calmly. That little delay, that pause, you can shift things.
How so?
Well, the other person might get a little uneasy, like, what are they thinking? Did I say the wrong thing?
Okay.
That silence forces their own internal chatter.
Yeah.
And then when you do speak calmly, thoughtfully,
It carries more weight.
it seems to. It signals you're not easily pushed or rushed. You're considering things.
It's like the silence acts as a mirror, reflecting their own stuff back at them.
That's a good way to put it. And, if someone is trying to be deceptive, perhaps your silence makes them worry you've seen through them.
So they might even reveal more than they planned. That's fascinating.
It really shows that communication is so much more than just words, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The pauses, the body language.
Yeah.
It all plays a part.
And if you learn to use these tools consciously, you can subtly guide how things unfold.
Okay, so let's get practical. We need some examples of how to use this pausing thing. First up, dealing with disrespectful comments in a group.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We've all been there. Someone says something cutting, tries to undermine you.
So what's the advice?
Pause. Don't react immediately. Make direct eye contact with that person, maybe for 5 seconds.
5 seconds feels like a long time in silence.
It does. And then calmly say something like, that comment says more about you than perhaps you realize.
Okay. Why the pause first, though? Why not just say the line?
Because the pause breaks a pattern. They expect you to get defensive or argue back right away. The silence kind of throws them off guard. It makes them aware their comment didn't just slide by, and it gives them a moment to feel the weight of it, maybe.
Right. It shifts the spotlight back onto them. Okay. Scenario 2. Business meetings, negotiations. This seems key.
Definitely. Influence is valuable there. So someone presents a proposal.
Even if you don't like it.
Don't jump in with objections straight away. The suggestion is pause just for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Then say, let me think about this for a moment.
What does that do? That delay.
It signals thoughtfulness, right? You're not just reacting. You're considering it carefully.
And that gives you leverage.
It can. They might see your careful consideration as a sign their offer isn't quite there yet. They might even start thinking about sweetening the deal before you say anything else.
Huh. It suggests your decisions aren't impulsive. More authority. Okay, third one. Unwanted requests. Saying no. That's hard for a lot of people.
Super hard. So you need to refuse, but you struggle.
What's the technique here?
It's pretty direct. Initially, say nothing. No ums or ahs. No, I'm so sorry, but not even a forced smile. Just silence.
Then what?
Then calmly, firmly state your boundary. I can't do that. And then more silence.
Why the silence after the no?
It closes the door. No justifications means no room to argue or persuade. The silence reinforces the finality. This isn't up for negotiation.
Got it. Avoids that awkward back and forth when you try to soften it too much. Okay, fourth scenario. Making your words land with more impact.
Right, when you're making an important point yourself.
How do you use the pause then?
After you've said the key thing, pause again. And make eye contact with people in the room or the person you're talking to.
And what does that achieve?
It's like underlining it without words. It signals, this bit was important. It gives people a second to actually absorb it. Let it sink in.
The eye contact helps too.
Definitely. Creates connection, encourages them to really consider what you said.
Creates space for reflection. Okay, so these techniques sound powerful, but using them confidently, that's another thing.
Yeah, confidence isn't just something you have or don't have. It's a skill.
So how do you build it? One suggestion is practicing in front of a camera.
Yeah, record yourself talking. That sounds awkward, I know.
A bit cringy, maybe.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it lets you actually see and hear yourself as others do. You spot the nervous habits, the rushing, the rambling.
So you can work on being more concise, more deliberate.
Exactly. It's like getting objective feedback.
And then role-playing, simulating tricky situations with a friend.
Yeah, practice. Run through these scenarios in a safe space. Try out the pausing, the eye contact, the calm no.
So it becomes more automatic.
Pretty much. You internalize it so you don't have to consciously think so hard when you're actually in the moment. It's like muscle memory for communication.
Interesting. Now, something else mentioned was acknowledging nervousness, vulnerability. How does that help?
It sounds counterintuitive, right? But admitting you feel a bit nervous or shy, it can actually take the pressure off. It makes you seem more human, more relatable. People might even see it as brave.
Like performers admitting they have stage fright.
Exactly. It often makes the audience connect more. Dr. Brené Brown talks a lot about the power of vulnerability, so maybe start practicing that in smaller, safer groups.
That's a really interesting angle. Okay, shifting slightly, Dale Carnegie's ideas came up too. How do they fit in?
Well, Carnegie was all about influencing people positively. One big thing he stressed was using someone's name.
Just saying their name in conversation.
Yeah. Seems simple, right? But hearing your own name apparently acts like a little reward in the brain. It grabs attention, makes you feel seen.
So combine that with the pausing.
And it could be quite potent. Politicians are often good at this. Carnegie called a person's name the sweetest sound in any language to that person.
Makes sense. And another Carnegie point, avoid criticism.
Right. Because criticism just makes people defensive. They shut down.
So instead,
be a good listener first. Show you understand where they're coming from. Then, maybe use these other techniques, the pause, the silence, using their name to gently guide them.
Build rapport before you try to influence.
Okay, last area. Conflict resolution. How do these subtle shifts help when things get tense?
Well, the first instinct when you're upset might be to attack. Right. Lay out why they're wrong.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the advice is, don't do that. Even if they know they messed up, a direct hit makes them dig their heels in.
So what's the alternative?
Start with understanding. Acknowledge their perspective even if you disagree with what they did. Something like,
Sarah, I get why you made that call. It was a tricky spot.
Exactly. Show some empathy first, then maybe pause. Let them speak first, if possible.
And then instead of accusing, ask questions. Gently guide them to reflect. Kaveh, thinking back, how might things have played out differently if? Frame it like you're exploring it together.
So it feels less like criticism and more like seeking their advice almost.
Kind of, yeah. Or at least seeking their reflection. It leads to way more openness and keeps the respect intact. It encourages them to find the lesson themselves.
Which is usually more effective anyway.
Much more.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it really does seem like gaining that respect and influence isn't always about big gestures or loud voices.
No, often it's in these quieter, subtler things. The pause, the silence, the way you listen using someone's name. These small shifts can really change the whole interaction. They really can. It's about being more intentional in how we communicate.
So maybe something for you listening to think about. Next time you're in a conversation, what if you just intentionally create a little more space? Pause before you jump in.
Yeah, just notice what happens. How does the dynamic shift? What does that brief silence reveal, maybe about the other person, or even about yourself?
It definitely gives us a lot to chew on about how we connect and communicate. Maybe you'll start seeing these little dynamics play out all around you now.